All right, today we're going to explore the Seine, but we aren't just looking at it as some blue line on a map or, a simple geographic feature. Instead, for this explainer, we're really exploring this river as the living, breathing protagonist of French history. It's an epic story of survival, of complete destruction, and ultimately, of resurrection. Think about this for a second. What if a single river was essentially responsible for building an entire nation? Seriously, imagine a waterway that literally crowned kings, that somehow survived the sheer devastation of world wars, and, fast forward to today, served as the spectacular, floating host for the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. We so often think of cities building rivers, right? Taming them, putting them in neat little concrete channels. But in this case, it's actually the exact opposite. The river built the city, and the city built the nation.
Okay, let's actually dive right into this. The story of the Seine as the absolute beating heart of civilization starts, well, roughly 2,000 years ago. The river itself is huge. It's approximately 777 kilometers long, which is about 483 miles, starting all the way from the Langres Plateau and flowing right out to the English Channel. But long before the nation of France ever even existed, a Celtic tribe known as the Parisii settled on the islands right in the middle of this river. And they didn't just pick this spot at random. The Seine provided absolutely everything they needed: fresh drinking water, abundant fish, incredibly fertile land, natural defensive barriers, and basically a built-in transportation network. This small, highly strategic settlement on the water, that would eventually grow into the city of Paris.
The historical evolution of this river is just sweeping. It's like a time-lapse of Western civilization. It starts with that early Parisii settlement in the 3rd century BCE. Then, right around 52 BCE, Julius Caesar's Roman army storms in, conquers the area, and renames it Lutetia. Under the Romans, the river completely transforms into this massive commercial highway, moving grain and wine all across the empire. Jump forward a bit to 845 AD, and suddenly it's a vital, bloody, defensive battleground during the Viking sieges. By 1163, it's this bustling medieval hub, where the foundation for Notre Dame is laid. And then, of course, in 1789, its banks serve as the silent witness and literal battleground for the French Revolution. Kings fell, empires rose, whole governments collapsed. But through all of that chaos, the river just kept flowing.
Now, I want to zero in on that dramatic Viking chapter for just a moment, because it's fascinating. Picture this. The year is 845 AD, and nearly 120 Viking longships just emerged from the river mist, led by the legendary chief, Ragnar. See, the Vikings realized something crucial. You didn't actually need to conquer all of France. You literally just needed to control the Seine. They sailed straight upstream, burning down villages, until they reached Paris and forced the terrified king, Charles the Bald, to pay this massive ransom of silver and gold just to make them leave. But when the Vikings came back 40 years later, Paris was ready. They constructed these massive, heavily fortified bridges across the river that acted as giant barricades. The defenders, led by a local hero named Odo, held off the Viking horde for almost an entire year. That heroic defense didn't just save the city, it made Odo a legend and fundamentally strengthened the future of the French monarchy.
But the river wasn't just a military choke point, it was an absolute economic powerhouse. As the French monarchy grew stronger, the kings looked at the Seine and recognized it for what it truly was, the superhighway of its day. You've got timber coming in from the forests, grain flowing from the farms, wine pouring in from the vineyards, salt from the coasts, and crucially, massive stone blocks. Actually, fun fact, without the Seine to transport those enormously heavy stones, the world-famous Notre Dame Cathedral, which sits right there on an island in the river, might never have been built. The river literally carried the building blocks of French culture.
And this brings us to a really stark turning point in our story. By the 1800s, you have the Romantic Seine. This is the river that captivated the entire world, right? Masters like Claude Monet, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, and Camille Pissarro would just gather on its banks. Instead of painting stiff portraits of royalty, they painted the sunlight dancing on the water, the morning fog, the beautiful bridges. It became arguably one of the most painted rivers in human history. But jump forward to the 20th century, and that romantic, sun-dappled inspiration turned into a very toxic punchline. As rapid industrialization and urban sprawl completely took over, the river was effectively transformed into a giant dumping ground for industrial waste and chemical runoff. The contrast between those two eras is absolutely staggering.
Things got so bad that finally, in 1923, the breaking point hit. That was the year the French government was forced to step in and officially ban all swimming in the Seine. After a century of unchecked industrial growth, the water pollution had become far too severe, and a huge surge in dangerous river traffic accidents made the water legitimately deadly. So for the average Parisian, their beloved river was now officially off-limits.
And sadly, it really only went downhill from there. By the 1970s, the river's ecosystem had collapsed down to a single shocking number: 3. At that time, more than half of the entire Paris region's untreated wastewater was being dumped directly into the Seine. The river had literally transformed into a flowing urban cesspit. Out of all the thriving aquatic life that once fed those ancient Celtic tribes, only 3 resilient species of fish were left alive in the water. For all intents and purposes, the mighty Seine was biologically dead. So, that brings us to the most incredible question of this whole explainer. How in the world do you bring a dead river back to life? When a major waterway reaches the point where it is essentially an open sewer, can it ever become a national treasure again? It's a monumental question, and answering it would end up requiring one of the absolute greatest urban engineering comeback stories of the modern era.
Well, the catalyst for this massive resurrection was the 2024 Summer Olympics. Paris made a massive, highly public gamble. They didn't just want to host the games in stadiums, they wanted the Seine to be the grand centerpiece. They even planned the opening ceremony on boats. So, to actually make the river swimmable for world-class athletes, France committed a staggering 1.5 billion euros to a historic cleanup effort. They decided enough was finally enough, and they were going to fix this.
Now, how they actually pulled this off is fascinating. Cleaning the river wasn't just a matter of, dropping a giant filter into the water. They had to completely rewrite the city's 19th century plumbing system. See, the old sewer system was intentionally designed to dump its overflow directly into the Seine whenever there was heavy rain. The absolute masterstroke to fix this was the Bassin d'Austerlitz. This is a colossal, hidden underground reservoir specifically designed to act as a buffer during severe weather and totally prevent that raw sewage from ever entering the river.
So here is how this brilliant engineering actually works in practice. When a severe storm hits, instead of all that raw sewage and rainwater overflowing into the river, it gets caught and diverted straight into the Bassin d'Austerlitz. And this underground tank is massive. It can store up to 20 Olympic swimming pools worth of dirty stormwater, holding it safely underground. Then, once the storm passes and the city's system isn't overwhelmed anymore, all that stored dirty water is slowly pumped off to treatment plants. On top of building this massive reservoir, the city also forced tens of thousands of homes and houseboats, which used to just casually empty their sewage straight into the river, to legally connect to the municipal sewer system. And spoiler alert, the 2024 Olympic gamble, it actually paid off. For the first time in an entire century, athletes swam in the Seine for the triathlon and marathon swimming events. Now, yes, officials still have to test the water daily, and they absolutely do raise red flags to pause swimming if heavy rains cause temporary bacteria spikes. But the daily testing and the sheer scale of the cleanup proved that the overall system worked. The toxic mess was finally gone.
So where does that leave the Seine today? Well, it is doing a lot of heavy lifting. It supplies drinking water for millions of people. It's still a major inland shipping route. The banks that flow right through central Paris are officially recognized as UNESCO Cultural Landscape. It's obviously a global tourism powerhouse where millions stroll along the banks or take boat cruises under its 35-plus bridges. But most importantly, it's reclaimed its title as the ultimate symbol of French identity. It is no longer just a pretty painted backdrop, it's a living, breathing, swimmable public space again. And hey, dozens of fish species have even moved back in, along with herons and swans.
When you look at the river now, it's just mind-blowing to think about those 777 kilometers of continued unbroken history. I mean, nearly 1/3 of France's entire population lives within the Seine River basin today. The river just continues to flow through towns like Troyes and Rouen, gliding right past iconic monuments in Paris like the Eiffel Tower, the Musée d'Orsay, and the Louvre, before it finally reaches the sea at Lyon. Every single drop of that water carries 2 millennia of human triumph and struggle.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. We've seen this incredible waterway transform from a humble Celtic settlement to a bustling Roman highway, from a bloody Viking battleground to a literal toxic sewer, and now, finally, to this triumphant model of environmental restoration. As long as the Seine continues to flow, you have to wonder, what chapter of the French story is it going to write next? And how will this resurrected river inspire the future of urban reclamation for cities all around the world? Definitely something to think about the next time you look at a river in your own hometown. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.